Hey there, Internet friends. Trevor Starkey here with another episode of Trevor Trove Gaming Sunday Edition. Today I'm going to sit down and talk about my thoughts of Last Day of June. I sat down and played this game earlier this week. Something that popped up on my radar last year when I was still doing like Trevor Performs the Drop and reading through the PlayStation blog drop descriptions. I came upon this game and it sounded interesting, and it has a very kind of almost Tim Burton-esque / Nightmare Before Christmas art style, in terms of like the characters kind of look like that Nightmare Before Christmas. They don't have eyes. They don't even have mouths, I don't think. They're just kind of like heads. The main character, Carl, like has big old glasses that kind of like identify him. And there's no dialogue in here, but it's very much like the story is expressed through pantomime and stuff like that. In the story of Last Day of June, we kind of play as Carl trying to change the events that led to his wife June's death. The game starts with the two of them having and enjoying a nice little date, down at the pier. The weather gets a little rough, and so they kind of drive home. And suddenly things wake up, and Carl is handicapped now. He's stuck in a wheelchair, and June is gone. And we find out by going into some like mystical, magical paintings that like take us back to the events that conspired. The first time you play through it, for example, one of the little boys in the little town that they all live in was playing fetch with the dog. The ball rolled out into traffic, and in order to avoid hitting the kid, Carl, who was driving, veered the car off the road, injuring himself and killing June. It is alluded. So you can kind of replay events, and instead of having the boy play fetch with the dog, you can kind of change things around, and he can go fly a kite instead. And then like that changes the timeline effectively, but that still kind of leads to like other things conspire that leads to June's death. And so you end up kind of having to solve puzzles in a variety of little methods with kind of four other characters. You're playing as the boy. You're playing as like a timid neighbor lady. You're playing as like a hunter, kind of an old-timey hunter with like a musket, chasing down a bird and stuff. And then you're also playing as like the old man character of this little apparently 6-person village. And you basically have to kind of mix and match each character's potential endings in order to try and basically save June. And it's an interesting little story. Definitely tugs at the heartstrings. When I was playing through it, I kind of kept thinking it's as if somebody watched the first 10 minutes of Up and kind of decided to use that as a jumping off point for a game, because the story of Carl and June kind of feels a little bit like the story of the characters in the intro sequence to Up. I enjoyed the puzzles. They're not too difficult, but they having to kind of go back and forth between characters made it enjoyable. I was a little annoyed in that you can't skip it at times, so when you need to have to basically go and replay through certain sequences and kind of change things around, you can't just like skip to know how. They do a little bit of that where you don't have to go through the entire sequence again to get an appropriate ending, but once you trigger the cutscene, you can't skip the cutscene, so you have to watch that, and so that ended up taking a lot of time that I didn't feel I was really gaining anything from experiencing this. But overall, I enjoyed the story. It's a nice kind of bite-sized little game here. Again, the art design really kind of struck me very well. And yeah, it's a nice little thing. I recommend checking it out if you like kind of walking simulator-esque puzzle action games like that. You might enjoy this one. It is a nice little heartfelt game, kind of about death and acceptance and kind of coming to terms with what you can and can't change in this life. So those are my thoughts on Last Day of June. Let me know if you've played the game, what you thought about it in the comments below. As always, I've been your host, Trevor Starkey from TrevorTrove.com. You can follow me at SnarkyStarkey on Twitter. And until next time, from here at the Trove, treasure your friends.